up for this. So this will, and if you want to read the applications that are for the public hearing, there's 3 of these.
Yes. There are the 3 applications for our public hearing this evening. COA 21-103, M&D Construction. The applicant owners request to demolish the deck and porch on the property at 114 East John Fitch Avenue. COA 21-102, M&D Construction, applicant owner requests to demolish an outbuilding at the rear of the property at 114 East John Fitch Avenue. And COA 21-105, Ryan and Beth Clark, applicant owners request to demolish a shed on the property at 210 East Stephen Foster Avenue. We will go into this. It's 6:47.
Okay, and then who is going to speak regarding the, is it Matt? Is it just going to be you? Is there anyone else speaking on the demolitions that's here?
Matt.
We've lost Matt. There we go.
There he is.
Matt, can you hear us? I think that's the only other ones that's there.
Matt.
Matt, can you hear us?
I want to play Hollywood Squares. And Matt.
Hold on.
Yes. Can you turn on your mic? Matt. Matt Elder.
I'm texting him.
Okay.
I think he's freezing. Lord, I'm grateful to be in person next month. That's all I'm also saying. Oh, yes. I'm excited about moving, so FYI, we'll be in person next month. HRB board. So we'll start having these in person.
Matt?
Yeah, he's asking if we can hear him, and we can't.
No.
No. Okay. All right, then.
Can we proceed to discuss this?
Yes, we can.
Let him work.
My opinion is this is fairly straightforward request.
And Rick, you're talking about 103, the deck and porch?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know any other way of explaining it, that it currently looks like a train wreck. And
yeah.
My only thought is the demolition should be contingent or subject to approval of whatever is going to go in its place. I have questions about the proposed new porch, new columns. So if we approve of the demo, I think that it has to be contingent on approval of its replacement. If there's no approval of the replacement, then I think you can't demo it.
This porch is on the side and it has nothing to do with the other ones that have the columns.
Well, can we go to the photo? I thought that they were showing columns and a railing above it.
Yes, they are on the new porch.
On the new construction.
I'm sorry.
So I'm going to have questions about that architectural style. I have questions about the overall architectural style of the building. I think the renderings that I'm seeing are beautiful renderings. I like the overall look, but it seems to be a significant change in the architectural style. So we'll get to that discussion. But if we want to move things along, I'm not trying to control this conversation, but I would say approve of the demo subject to approval of its replacement. But that's my opinion.
Okay, and Matt, can you hear me to where you can come on here now? Because I need to swear you in to be able to speak. Wow, we're not getting through.
I saw him for a while, but at least now we can see his mic is on mute.
Well, why don't we move on and maybe table everything on this site if he can't speak?
Can you hear me?
We're good.
Yes.
There he is.
Sorry, I had a bad internet connection there for a second.
That's okay. So I can't see you, Matt, but I need you to, can you raise your right hand so I could swear you in to talk about this during the public hearing?
Yes. Can you see me?
Okay. No, I can't see you.
Mm-hmm.
But I can at least, can you attest that, yay! Okay, raise your right hand and repeat. So do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is to the best of your knowledge? If so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you. You're sworn in for this. Okay, excellent. Okay, so now go ahead. So we're reviewing 103, which is to demolish the deck and porch.
Sure. Okay.
So do we have any further questions or discussion, or?
I'm not able.
I would just say on the rendering part of it, if you want to look at kind of how close they are, because I kind of thought that too when we first started doing some of this building. Take a stroll down Brashear and then look at some of the renderings there. I mean, they're pretty spot on, but I understand maybe some concern, but it's really going to be built pretty similar to what it was.
With that glass going back in the bottom level?
No, the glass is not going back in the bottom level. No.
It's actually green currently.
It's green.
A
You mean-
screen.
Green, yes. Got it.
Okay, do we want to discuss the new first before we talk about the demo?
No, usually we do the demolition and then tweak the new construction when we get to that one.
Okay.
Well, I go back and say, my recommendation is we approve of the demo of that porch and what's above it, subject to approval of its replacement.
Okay.
All right, can we get a motion in that then?
I make a motion to recommend approval of COA 21-103 with the following condition, that the approval is subject to approval of its replacement. My motion is based on the following findings. The demolition is consistent with the demolition standards set forth in Section 4 of the Bardstown Historic Design Review Manual.
Do I have a second? Thank you, Suzanne. So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, excellent.
Gosh, okay,
Yeah, he said aye.
great.
Okay, so great. So we'll do that one. That one has went through. Real quick, we do need to do approval of the minutes. I forgot that, Pat.
Oh, I'm sorry. I looked
No,
right.
it's okay. It was me. It was me.
So if you've reviewed the minutes for May of 2021, may I have a vote to approve those minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
And Suzanne second. So the minutes, it's been moved, motioned and seconded that the minutes be approved. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then, so the next one is COA 21-102, which is to demolish the outbuilding at the rear of the property.
Yes. And I find that is going to be a lot trickier because, as we all know, if you look at demolition number 3, we have to determine if the demolition of this kitchen would affect the district's character when we look at it as a whole, or the importance as a unified whole of the district. What are some thoughts on this from the other board members?
And I agree with you. I think it's I know it's in great disrepair, but it's a wonderful little building. Rashay, do you know how old this building is?
No, I don't. But I do have as you know, we hired the structural engineer. You all have received that report. So we have that report as well. The second thing that we always do with the demolition is we reach out to the Kentucky Heritage Council for comment. And so, Matt, I'm sorry, I got this literally about 20 minutes before the meeting, but I have a letter from the state SHPO, Historic Preservation Officer, that I'd like to read, if
Okay.
that's okay.
Sure.
Okay. Great. So, Rashay, this letter is a response to your request for the comment for Historic Preservation Review Board about whether our office believes the frame detached attention outbuilding at the residence at 114 East John Fitch, currently being considered for demolition, should be preserved and rehabilitated. The property is included as part of the larger Bardstown Historic District listing in the National Register of Historic Places, originally listed in 1978, and is one of the oldest local National Register districts in Kentucky. According to the listing, the original home in this site was a brick 2-story house facing 2nd Street, constructed in 1830, with a 1.5 addition built facing John Fitch Avenue in late 19th century. Sometime after the date of the National Register listing, a large 2-story addition was added to the rear of the 19th century structure. According to Sanborn Fire Insurance maps, it appears the frame kitchen was built between 1905 and 1910 and extending from the rear of the late 19th century addition. As you related, according to retired long-term Bardstown Historic Preservation Officer David Hall, the outbuilding under construction consideration for demolition was originally the frame addition that had been moved to make way for the large 20th century addition. Comparing it to the Sanborn maps, it mirrors the same footprint. Although our staff was not able to do an on-site visit to inspect the structure, this would also appear to be confirmed by the photos you sent. These included the structural review report that you also submitted to us by Shane Kirk, PE structural engineer with Icon Engineering and Inspection Services, along with an early sink and kitchen cabinetry. This outbuilding also features residential finishes such as windows and decorative flooring. We agree with the findings of this report that the order to preserve this structure, extensive repairs would need to be made to such the point that all historic materials will basically have to be removed. As much as historic fabric is possibly retained and the structure rebuilt would leave very little historic integrity. As the structure report notes, a rebuild would be possible, but it would prove difficult and costly, especially using time period correct building materials and methods. Unfortunately, this structure is another example of demolition by neglect on the part of the previous owner. Had investment been made in keeping the building adequately roofed, repainted, and repaired, it would not have deteriorated to the state of its current condition, which have made it much more feasible to repair and repurpose today. Bringing this historic frame kitchen back to its original appearance, modernized for a use, would be possible with enough money and will, but would have to be a labor of love on the part of the current owner. Should this be considered, I do want to offer this as a structure is listed on the National Register in the Historic District. The current owner would potentially utilize state and federal historic rehabilitation tax credits to assist with restoration if the building will be used for a commercial purpose. Each of these credits would return 20% of the total investment as long as work is certified by our office meeting the Secretary of the Interior standards for historic rehabilitation. Sincerely, Craig Potts, Executive Director and State Historic Preservation Officer. So that was the SHPO's response.
So did you, go ahead. Did you want to speak?
No, you can go ahead.
While you're thinking, I'll speak. So it seems to me that there are two parts to the SHPO's response. The first is, it's not, by the time all is said and done, with an enormous amount of money, you're going to have very little original anything left, although it would be wonderful. But I don't think they were advocating for the saving of it. The second part is, but in fact, if you do as a labor of love want to do this, then we will provide, some tax funding. I think that would be very nice to have that redone. I think that would be really nice. And I think it would be lovely for Bardstown. But at some point, I think you have to say, it's not fair to ask that of the current owner. And what you have is a replica of what once was. And so I think it should be demolished. Always wanting to change my mind.
I tend to support that So I want to hear what Pat and Josh think.
I agree with Suzanne.
Can I entertain a motion from one of you then, please? Oh, I'm sorry, this is just on the demolition.
Yeah, we have to open the public hearing.
Yeah.
Suzanne, you want to take a shot at it?
Well, I would, except for I can't find the little place where everything is written out, but I would move to.
We have to open the public
Wait.
hearing before we do this one. Yeah, so we'll wait.
Where
We
is
have
it?
we have to close the public hearing and then open it and vote on this one because it's a full structure. So we'll have to do that.
But we've gotten a consensus here, so
Yeah.
we can hold on 102 and move to COA 21-105, discuss that as a demolition, and then we can open up back to the meeting where we can actually make a recommendation. Okay, Matt?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, and then 105 is Ryan and Beth Clark. Are they here? Are you guys here? I don't see them.
No.
This is for the shed that's on the property at 210 East Stephen Foster Avenue. It's with all new building material. I looked on the Sanborn map. It's not historic. It's not 50 years or older. I couldn't locate it, at least from the 1950s Sanborn map to locate it. But I would entertain any comments regarding this particular shed that they are requesting to remove.
So you're stating, Rashay, that it's not historic.
Yes, it's not.
Well, then I think we give them the approval to do.
Okay.
So we can't make a motion now, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Are all board members comfortable with my closing this portion of the meeting so that we can then go into the voting portion of the meeting?
Please.
Okay. So at 7:03, we'll conclude the public hearing on the demolition of the 3 COAs. And I move to open and consider COA applications for a traditional hearing meeting.
Okay, so the first one to consider is COA 21-102, which is the demolition of the outbuilding. Do we have any further discussion?
If there's no further discussion on demolition of the outbuilding at 114 East John Fitch, may I have a motion?
I make the motion to recommend approval of COA 21-102. My motion is based on the following findings. The demolition is consistent with the demolition standards set forth in Section 4 of the Bardstown Historic Design Review Manual.
A second.
Yeah. Thank you. So the COA has been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So Matt, you will need to wait, of course, for the city council to then approve this, and then you would be able to proceed with your actions.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
So now let us look at COA 21-102, which
That's what we just did.
I'm sorry.
103.
That's right, 103, the deck and porch on this same property. Do I have a motion for this?
I make the motion to recommend approval of COA 21-103. My motion is based on the following findings. The demolition is consistent with the demolition standards set forth in Section 4 of the Bardstown Historic Design Review Manual.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. The COA 103, I don't know why I'm doing this. All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect, Pat.
Yeah.
And then we just have 105, which is the shed.
Yes, the shed. So 105, the Ryan and Beth Clark looking at the shed at 210 East Stephen Foster. May I have a motion?
I make the motion to recommend approval of COA 21-105. My motion is based on the following findings. The demolition is consistent with the demolition standards set forth in section 4 of the Bardstown Historic Design Review Manual.
Second.
Thank you, Josh. So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
So,
Okay.
So
so
just,
Matt, you're clear on yours?
He
Since-
still has some
Thank you.
later.
since we only have Suzanne for 23 more minutes, shouldn't we maybe tackle the rest of 114 East John Fitch? Shouldn't we go ahead and take care of that now?
We can, if we can, to go ahead and do 106, which is the shingles. That will take care of 210 East Stephen Foster. That's the next one. And then we can go ahead and do the other one, which is perfectly fine.
Okay, somebody move 106 through quickly then.
Suzanne or Josh, could you make a motion on 106?
What we discussed last month.
Yes.
Is it-
Mhm.
Okay, sure.
These are the shingle. She just changed the color of the shingle. It's to an appropriate light gray. Not too light of a gray, but it's a charcoal kind of gray. It's actually what's on Miss Hagen's house. So
Okay.
it's on Pat's house. So that's the color they're presenting to have on the shingle roof.
Okay, I'll make the motion to recommend approval of COA 21-106. My motion is based on the following findings. The shingle replacement is consistent with the roof standards set forth in section 4 of the Bardstown Historic Design Review Manual.
I second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so now we're going to look at, oh, here we go, 104. And
Yeah.
yeah, so COA 21-104, M&D construction request to rebuild the deck at the property. Well, no, we just passed that one.
No, it's to rebuild the deck. So this is how it will look after the deck has been demolished.
Okay. So do I have,
So is this rendering that we're showing, Matt, that's the
Yeah.
actual back of the house and this is the way that it would look?
I think maybe there's a chimney on there that's screwed up, but yes, outside of that, yes. And then, I think it kind of goes hand in hand with what you're doing here. I mean, we got to present this again, correct? To be able to do it anyway. Is that?
Well, see, I think we should look at the front and we should look at the other side before we make a decision about this. I don't see how we can make a decision about this isolated. To me, the most defining characteristics of the home is the front. I like what's being shown. I like the renderings. I have concerns that it's a significant change in style from its current home. So, and I don't think I don't get a sense of this until I look at all three sides. So I would just say we can talk about this further, but I think we have to look at all three sides and then discuss what's happening here.
you mean three sides of the deck or three sides of the home?
Three sides of the home, the front side, the Second Street side, so the John Fitch side and the Second Street side. We're looking at the side that sort of faces
Yes.
one of the alleys, so we can't really see the whole picture. So
Right. It's
I
behind
say-
all the bushes, yeah.
I say let's look at the side facing John Fitch.
Which would be COA 119.
Can we go to that? Can we do it this way, Rashay?
Yes, you can.
So let's go to 119. And I recommend going to the illustration. Well, no, 119 is
Right.
Second Street. Which one is Fitch?
Well, it says it's John Fitch. Oh,
Well-
I'm sorry, that's the property. Well, I can't
They
find
talk
Well,
it.
about
while
the
we're-
side porch.
While we're here, go look at page 7.
So page 8 is 2nd Street.
Well, I'm looking at page 7 that I think is 2nd Street.
Yes, it's the same, 7 and 8.
Okay.
Those are the
Um,
2nd Street.
So the front is COA 21-120. You see the rendering on for the front of the house from John Fitch perspective.
So let's go to 20.
On page 7 of COA 21-120.
Right, that's the next one. Okay.
So I think we start there. So again, a lovely
Thank you, Josh.
illustration.
Thank you.
I can't characterize the architectural style. I would start to say that what's shown here sort of looks like low country plantation, something in that style.
Yes, it does.
It looks lovely, and I personally like the look of this better than what's there now. But I think the stone that's there in front currently, those stone columns, are those original, Rashay?
No, they are not.
And
And they're not historic.
Oh, they're not historic.
Mm-mm.
You're sure of that?
Matt, can you attest to that for me?
Yes. That's what I was told by the previous owner.
That
They
they had,
All
They-
that, and it's not 50 years old.
Yeah.
Okay.
So looking at this page 8, the John Fitch elevation, Matt, there's no change to the roof pitch. That stays. You're only taking the columns out and putting these white columns in.
Correct.
What about, do we have a picture of the way it looks currently on the front?
on page 1.
Yeah, okay. So I want to point out to everyone, the gutter that you're seeing on that, the downspout and the gutter that you currently see in front of the far right column.
Mhm.
How do you handle water runoff into the new plan?
I mean, I would be my thought that we would probably do something similar, but probably not in the front of the column. I would probably try to do it in the back if it were possible.
Can
Out there.
you run it through the column?
Possibly.
Or just slope it around the corner.
Yeah,
Are
you don't want it
Are
in
you
the
open to doing half round gutters in copper?
Oh, I don't know about that.
Why not?
Possibly, but I mean, I would have to look at cost and whatever. I don't know how much are they economical or.
Yeah, I mean, are they economical? They're certainly more expensive than normal gutters.
These are normal gutters currently, so I don't know. I mean, I don't want it in the front if that's what you're asking. You know, I want to get it off to the side where you can't see it.
And gentlemen, can we move on this current one? A gutter would have to be a whole different COA on a different month.
Okay, I'll accept that.
So right now we're on COA 21-120. And we were looking at the look of the front porch, which it's just replacing one column for another.
Correct.
So I'm accept what's being shown. What is the rest of the group supportive of that?
Yes.
Looks
How
very good.
are the columns, Matt? What size?
Oh gosh. If you want a formal answer, I'll have to get that to you. But I want to say they're pretty big. They're about 12 by 12 by they're like 12 around. They're fairly large. currently.
So I'll make a recommendation that it includes staff approval if we're okay.
Good.
Okay.
I make the motion to recommend approval of COA 21-120 with staff approval on the final dimensions and material of the columns and subject to future approval of gutters and downspouts. We're not approving gutters and downspouts at this point. The motion is based on the following findings. The alteration is consistent with the porches, steps, stairs standards set forth in section 4 of the Bardstown Historic Design Review Manual.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Very good.
So, Pat, can we go to 119 now?
That's,
Okay.
yes. So if you're back to 119 and look at the entrance for 2nd Street on this second property.
Is this addition historic, Matt? Is it over 50 years or older?
No, I believe it was, well, it was demolished. I mean, it was a tree or something fell on it in, I want to say the 70s, and they
Okay.
rebuilt in the late 70s. That's what I was told.
Rashay, do we know what this addition was? I vaguely remember someone mentioning that maybe it was a schoolhouse at one point. Does that make sense?
No, I don't know that.
I have a hard time thinking that this addition was built after 1970.
It was rebuilt.
It was
Well-
rebuilt. A tree
Well,
fell.
I mean, so
It is-
fine, but
But-
if it was originally in the 1930s and a tree fell on it, and you rebuilt portions of it, so it is historic.
Correct.
It's also, it was a single story at that time too.
Yeah, so they added a whole second story to this, which changed the entire integrity of the addition. So it was a single or 1.5 story, and it went to a 2-story addition.
Is the intent for this to look like 2 separate buildings?
I mean, to some extent, you know, you want to kind of individualize it, but yeah, I guess to some extent, yes, because they are 2 totally different styles, really. I mean,
Is there any thought that additional buildings would be built on this site someday?
it's possible. I mean, right now the zoning, it doesn't, I mean, to do that, I would have to get approval for the zoning, but it's possible that there could be 1 or 2 lots there. Yes, possible. Down the road.
Yeah, well, I kind of just sense that the max out value that the building that we just approved for demolition will become a lot. And then the building to the left of this site on John Fitch will become a building site. So I just want us to think about that occurring.
And in a previous month, we approved that these 2 would be separate entities, separate ownership, if you will, or rental homes. So is there a motion for this entrance, or do we need further discussion? This is COA 119.
This is just the design of the front porch.
Yes.
Yeah.
On that side.
So I'll jump in. I make the motion to recommend approval of COA 21-119. My motion is based on the following findings. The front porch addition is consistent with the new construction standards set forth in section 4 of the Bardstown Historic Design Review Manual.
It's been motioned and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
So that's good for 119. So now we're looking at 104, please. back to the original deck and porch underneath, then being changed into kind of like two porches, a deck and a flat open porch. That was like on page 24 or something.
Matt, do you have anything you want to do and describe about this one for us?
I mean, really, it's just that screen underneath is awful, and it's a matter of tearing the screened in portion off and opening it up, and just new material, you know, not new materials, but old, of course. It's very similar to what is there, I kind of think, but yeah, we're open if you have any comments on this or ideas.
Is it maintaining the same footprint that the one existing has? Or is
Yes.
it getting bigger?
Let me see. It's definitely not getting bigger. It's not supposed to.
Okay, the drawing made me think it was longer.
It
So
does
you-
look like, just notice
It is.
that.
It looks a lot longer.
Yeah. So maybe, I don't know, maybe I probably need to have him tweak that a little bit. The intention was to go back with very similar thing, just newer materials, and mainly to get the screen out of the bottom. That was because it's dilapidated. So
Well, haven't we already approved of the demolition?
Yes.
So now we're just talking about the replacement.
right, and maybe I need to come back and show something, you know, that's more accurate. I just noticed that that's not white.
I have a suggestion / question, Rashay. Is it possible for whoever does make the motion to be specific enough that it would follow the same footprint in relation to the drawing rendering?
Yes, that could be a condition. That should be a condition on that.
And
But
then
Matt, I'm looking at the elevation here where it shows two double doors. It looks like to me opening up onto the second level deck.
Yeah,
So-
and again, that was the last portion that I had of these renderings to get, and so it's not as accurate as I would like it. So
Yeah,
but
I don't think we can get specific on this one. We can't make, because this suggests that there's 3 units being 3 townhouses, condos, apartments, and each one comes out onto the deck. If we went back to the footprint of the original, then not everyone on that plan is going to have access to the deck. So I think you got to come back and show specifically
That's
what
fine.
you want to do.
no problem.
so what if we move to table this motion, and Matt, you can bring us back the corrected information in July? Or
That'd be,
at
I mean,
your-
we have time to.
I'll table the motion if that's required, until Matt's further presentation.
Second.
Okay.
It's been motioned and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So that one's tabled. The other have passed. And again, you wait for approval from City Council before you go.
Okay. I do
Thank you
appreciate
very much.
it. Thank you. Am I done? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I think you're.
Okay.
I think
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Okay.
mm,
Okay, so now do we go back to 108, the signs?
yes.
Okay, so if you will go to COA 21-108, Paulette Braden, Cordy.
Willie, are you on your? Yes, Willie's here.
Yeah,
Oh, yes.
I think so. Yeah.
Great,
Okay.
Willie.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
we can.
Okay.
So I want to point out that it looks like there's a typo on page 7 where it shows 6 inches. Is that 6 foot?
Yes, it would be, I guess 6 foot tall, right?
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yes, I see what you're saying. Yes.
So is the top of the sign maybe 5 foot off the ground?
Yes, but a little under 5, but
The icon of a street lamp, is that a historic replication of street lamps that were in Bardstown at one point?
I'm not sure.
Riche, does this meet all of the signage guidelines?
It does meet all of the regular city sign guidelines, yes.
Okay, I'm surprised at that. I find it very, very wordy. And I drove around to look at the other B&B signs, and they're all much more clear with a name and a possible phone number, if even that. I can't read anything underneath guest house till I get to reservations. It's almost more like it's trying to be a historical marker instead of a sign for a B&B.
I agree with you, Pat. It seems like to me that it should be a straightforward sign for the B&B. And if there needs to be a historical sign, then that's treated differently.
I mean, a B&B person wants to have description that's in a brochure on their front table. This is just so cluttered. I know in the past, other signs have been turned down because they were too cluttered.
Okay.
It is.
Yes, I agree with you all about too much wording on it. She's probably not aware, and I really wasn't aware either, that could she have another existing sign that would kind of, she's trying to show the little history on the house, and she wanted to put it all on this sign. So if you all don't like that, that's fine, but that's what she was trying to do. So, and she's, would she be allowed another sign to sort of have history about the house? That's the point.
I don't think it's appropriate in a residential area.
Okay.
Riche, are there any rules to guide this? I mean, people have
No.
a circa, but that's all.
Yeah, usually the signs that are reserved are circa, or they're the federal signs.
Yeah.
So the big brass federal signs. I don't think we've approved a second sign anywhere where it's had the history of the house on it.
I'm not comfortable with it at all.
Willie, what's the actual sign material? The band. I know that we have vinyl letters, but what's the actual material of the sign?
It would be a aluminum board.
It is aluminum, not some sort of synthetic material, right?
No, not PVC, or it'd be aluminum.
I just want to go into the notes that I think the city historic district must change their signage code for the historic district. I just don't think we should support vinyl letters. But setting that to the side, if vinyl is acceptable under current guidelines, then Pat, would you be comfortable with making a approval for the sign in terms of material, height, and then give staff approval of the wording, which should be limited to name, name and telephone number?
Well, can I just ask you something?
Yes, please.
Because haven't you just changed the rules? Because the regulations, as I understood from Riche, this meets the regulations. So how can you then say, but you can only have name and address? Shouldn't that be more of a, we will approve this sign, but we would strongly recommend that you clean it up? I mean, that's part of my long-term discussion with everybody. When the rules say you've met the rules, then what is our role to say don't like it?
Well, it meets the city sign requirements. That was what Rick was asking. So city sign requirements, that's part of being in the HRB rules, Suzanne, does it meet all city sign guidelines? And that's what I was referring to. It says yes. And then the rest of the regulations apply to HRB signage.
And HRB signage, does it say you can only have X number of words or anything like that?
It states, hold on.
It's hard to know.
It does say on SG2, keep sign design simple and easy to read.
Okay.
Yeah.
Use a limited number of lettering styles and colors, et cetera, et cetera.
I'm happy.
That's what
to say there's too many.
So that, Suzanne, does that give us the latitude to be more directional in our approval?
Yeah, I think, pursuant to SG2, this should be simple. And
I think I counted 5 different fonts. I think that it should be 2 fonts, not 5. I mean, if you really look at every letter on there, you'll count 5 different fonts. So I think there should be 2 fonts. I think it should be limited to name, statement that it's a bed and breakfast, and telephone number. I think the light fixture sign, which is false image of something that didn't exist in Bardstown, shouldn't be on there. So that would be my recommendation. But I'll make that motion if the other guys are nodding their head.
Yep.
Okay, I'll work my way through this. I make the motion to recommend approval of COA 21-108 with the following conditions: that the fonts be limited to 2 fonts. The size of the letters are subject to final approval by staff. The message on the sign will be limited to the name of the business, the use being a bed and breakfast, and the telephone number for reservations.
I'll second the motion.
Well, hold on. I think one final thing. I'm sorry I hesitated, Suzanne. My motion is based on the following findings. The sign is consistent as noted with my contingencies with the sign standards set forth in Section 4 of the Bardstown Historic Design Review Manual.
Can I second it now?
Yeah.
So the motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So the motion is approved, Willie, with the conditions stated that you'll want to discuss with the owner, and she can then work with Riche on the final acceptance.
Yes, I agree. I agree with y'all's findings. The only thing I want to tell Rick is that we don't like all the writing on it either, but the customer is wanting you to put all this on here, and that's where we're at. So and you all are the bridge in between there. So you all are saying they can't do it. So now I can take that back to her and say, we can't have all that on there. So yeah,
I think all that information, that information is good and can be done, as Pat said, in a pamphlet inside the home, on a website, any number of things.
Well, and that's what I'm going to tell her.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, very good.
So she has to go another avenue with her information. Okay.
We're here to help.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Mhm.
I'm leaving. Sorry. Please forgive. I'll see you.
Okay, we've got one more for you, Willie. Oh, bye, Suzanne. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, bye-bye.
See you next time.
Okay.
And see you next time, Suzanne. And then, Willie, we've got the next one is Amy Ann Downshurst.
Which one is that? Which one are we on?
It's COA 109 for 315 North 3rd Street. It's the former Savings and Loan Building.
So a 9'6" tall sign is acceptable, Riche?
Excuse me.
Is that what's currently there, Willie?
Yes, the existing sign structure has been there for years, and there's always been a sign hanging on it. So we're able to use the sign she already has on her building and remove it and then transfer it over to there, and it will fit fine. But now it's up to you all to decide.
Yeah,
here.
the maximum height, that is allowed, Rick, and the maximum height from city sign guidelines is 20 feet, but we don't hit that usually in the historic district ever.
See, that's got to be changed. You can't ever have somebody coming in with a 20-foot sign essentially on the edge of a residential neighborhood of our historic district. But as Suzanne would point out, the regulations are the regulations. We can't change it, but I'm going to complain until the end about it. And I want it noted, and hopefully Councilman Buckman is listening to this, and this stuff's got to be changed. So the material that the board itself, is that metal, Willie?
Yes, it's 080 aluminum.
And it's vinyl letters on it?
Correct.
And
paint with vinyl letters, yeah.
Riche, the height is almost 5 feet. Is that acceptable?
Yes, that is acceptable.
Those signs are just too big, too high. So if I can get back here.
So the sign is just being moved from one property a block north to the next property.
Correct. This exact sign has already been approved, on her existing building there now, and then we're just going to remove it and move it over to the other building.
Don't say that, Willie. Don't say that, Willie, because it's approved on a totally different context, on a different surface. We're moving it from a wall to a freestanding sign. I make the motion to recommend approval of COA 21-109. My motion is based on the following findings. The sign is consistent with the sign standards set forth in Section 4 of the Bardstown Historic Design Review Manual.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
So you may go forward with that, Willie.
Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you. Sorry to be a troublemaker.
It's just part of it.
Yeah. We are looking at another sign option for 21-121.
This is Lauren Key. Lauren, are you available?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Very good. Okay. And you're wanting to add signage. Oh, yes, this is for the preschool, 96 Court Square.
Yes.
Okay.
Lauren, what is the material of the sign?
It's made out of aluminum.
Okay. And are those painted letters or vinyl letters?
I believe they're painted.
Okay. I'm ready to make a motion if everybody else is ready.
Yes, please.
I make the motion to recommend approval of COA 21-121. My motion is based on the following findings. The sign is consistent with the sign standards set forth in Section 4 of the Bardstown Historic Design Review Manual.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. All in favor?
Aye. What I just want to say for a moment, Pat, to my board members, I'm not trying in any way at all to stifle dialogue. Please jump in if you disagree. We just a lot of stuff on the agenda, and I'm just trying to move it through.
No, that's great.
Since we're all there, let's just move it so we can have a rich dialogue on the topics that we should spend time on.
Concur.
Agree.
Okay, we are now on COA 21-110. Nick, if you're there to talk about the Mattingly property. Nick, I see his name. There you go. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So the Mattinglys are requesting landscaping on their property. Did either you gentlemen have any questions?
I do not.
Okay, it's a good plan on page 6 of this for the landscaping. May I entertain a motion?
I'll make the motion to recommend approval of COA 21-110. A motion is based on the following findings: that the landscaping plan is consistent with the landscaping standards set forth in section 4 of the Bardstown Historic Design Review Manual.
Seconded.
It's been motioned and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
So Nick, an excellent plan. I can't wait to walk by there after the plants have been in for a while. And you'll need to wait for approval of the city council, of course, at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you, Nick.
All right, have a good night.
Yes. So we're ready for 101, the Talbert Tavern. Do we have a representative here for the Talbert Tavern? Anybody? Let's see who's, let me get down and whoops, see who signed this.
Riche, are you okay with this?
I am okay. One.
Okay, Jim Kelly signed it.
I don't have a problem with it.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. To me, it's pretty cut and dry. Could I entertain a motion?
Sure. I'll make the motion to recommend approval of COA 21-101. My motion is based on the following findings: the handrail is consistent with the porches, steps, and stairs standards set forth in section 4 of the Bardstown Historic Design Review Manual.
I second it.
It's been motioned and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. The next one is 2147, which is Just Jane's and the painting. I do not see that she's present here.
I am.
Oh, there. Okay.
I am. I'm on the phone because I couldn't get the video.
Okay, very good. Okay, so we've discussed this a few times. Have you been able to read our discussions on the paint colors? Thinking.
Riche had just said y'all felt like the color was too dark.
Yes.
And I didn't quite understand that, since I walked around town several times and there's a lot of buildings that are, black with brick. So I didn't quite understand that because, we live in Bardstown. Bardstown has the distillery soot on everything. And if you walk around and anything that is light colored looks very bad. And I took pictures I can send to you all, if you haven't walked around downtown Bardstown in a while. But the reason being that I wanted like a charcoal gray or a darker gray was to make it look fresh and nice for a longer amount of time, because as a small business owner, I can't afford to paint it every 2 years. I talked to my next door neighbors and they're like, oh my gosh, that goes great with your brick. And one of them is a designer that picks colors out for people all the time. So I didn't quite understand, I realized personal preference sometimes can lead to that, because, some people don't like dark houses. Some people don't like light houses. But it is part of the Benjamin Moore Historic Paint Color palette.
And when we were talking about the darker shades, that would be an appropriate color shade for a trim. When you step back, there's very little contrast between what you've chosen. First of all, you're going from several colors to 2. And then those 2 colors, one is quite dark and the other is not that whole lot different. And it would tend to disappear your store into a barn look, if you will, just a unified. It seems.
If you look at Bardstown Burger, theirs is completely black, and all the trim, and I mean everything is black. All the details.
And
Everything.
and just because one person doesn't follow the rules and chooses an alternate route, I would not go that direction.
Pat, I want to sort of support what you're saying. I looked at this multiple times. I count with the door 6 separate colors currently. So there's 5 plus the color of the door. And what happens with all those multiple colors, it really sort of highlights a lot of the details. And once you move to just 2 colors, it becomes a
Well,
big.
it's not 2 colors, it's 4 altogether.
Let me finish.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It then becomes it appears, just looking at this rendered finish on page 10, it just becomes a big mass, which is a significant change from what's there now.
Well, in my opinion, what's theirs now looks really bad. Really bad. It's deteriorating. It's falling apart. It's dirty because it's light colors.
I'm not questioning the need to paint. I think it does need to be painted. I'm not really challenging the colors. What I'm challenging.
You're just challenging that mine's too dark.
No, I have not said it.
Let me tell you what we did. We did several different renderings. Okay, and you'll see that
it's too dark.
my building has a little more detail on it, the Merle Norman building. The Gartland's next to it has less detail. And when we made the detail on my building, put an extra color in there, it looked like it was off balance. It looked very strange, like it wasn't a cohesive building.
Well, I'm going to say to my board members, look at what you have on page 9. You have all this sort of richness and texture and variation, and compare it to what you're seeing on 10. To me, it's not the way to go.
So you don't like tone on tone and texture. You like all separate colors. It's a personal thing, in my opinion. It's a personal viewpoint because they are historic colors I'm proposing.
What is which is your base color? Is that
the Kendall charcoal? But the Chelsea gray would be just as good, which is a little bit lighter color, which is to the right of it. And I guess you're missing my point of I'm trying to make sure this building looks as good right after it's finished 2 or 3 years from now, because we have so much black soot in Bardstown. So much. So I guess in my viewpoint, I would rather it look clean instead of trying to highlight every little detail on the building and it look dirty, because it's going to look dirty in a year, probably, maybe not even that long.
Are you saying
so
you
I'm
don't
trying to avoid my building looking, me paying so much for painting. I'm trying to avoid it looking bad right away. And I did, Google works really good. I Googled historic buildings in other downtowns. And there was a lot of really dark ones that were really sharp looking, and they didn't highlight the detail because you still have the texture of it. You still have the depth. You still have you can still see it. It's just, you don't have to highlight it in a different color to appreciate it and to think it's pretty. Just like take wainscoting in your house. Most dining rooms are white, but there's texture. And that's just how I look at my building. You still have the texture, but you don't have to paint inside every little line a different color. Can you imagine if you did that in your dining room or in your, I've decorated for people for years, and I've done a lot.
You had
So
mentioned,
I
you had mentioned
just don't-
earlier that you thought you had 4 colors. I don't understand where you got
I think we're talking about a storefront. We're talking about a storefront, not a dining room.
Yeah.
Well, what he was saying, okay, we have trim color, base color, a door color on mine, and a door color on Jimmy's in the apartment. So you basically have 4 colors.
So 2 are door colors though, correct?
Right, but when he was saying there was 5 colors, he was talking about door colors also.
No, there are 5 colors plus a door color.
So am I to understand that y'all are not going to approve this unless I make it look like it is now, which is hideous to me? I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound rude, but it needs to look fresh and vibrant, and they are historic colors.
I would like to go back to your mentioning of the Chelsea gray. It's not my dream color, but I see that as a great improvement over the Kindle charcoal. It wouldn't just disappear the building as much as the Kindle would. So again, these wouldn't be my choices, but it's not my house or my property. But the Chelsea gray appears that it would still work with your trim gray.
Right, and I'd be perfectly fine with that. And then I could do the door on Jimmy's and the apartment in the Kindle charcoal, so you'd have that contrast. It would still be,
Would you keep your door
I want my door to be kind of an aqua color.
Yes. I would not want
like a pop of color.
Yeah, 3 charcoal doors would not be good at all.
No. No. And, the apartment door, I can do it the same trim color if y'all want it bright, It's just, it's going to be dirty. It's going to be filthy because they don't take care of anything.
You just wash it once a year, that's a non-starter.
Listen, I could go wash that
but
once a month.
I'm
just saying, if you're referring that I don't take care of things, that's not how it is.
I'm saying the blue cleans up nicely.
Josh, what do you think?
Ironically, I have all those colors in my house, and
they're beautiful,
and I do love them. For what we use
great colors.
Yeah.
They're historic that they're with the time.
I get that. I get it for sure. I do think the body of the facade there needs to be the Chelsea and the Coventry gray with the. If you want to do the charcoal door, I'm okay with that as long as you're keeping your door blue. I think that's a good compromise all around.
Okay, can I hear a motion then?
That would have to be with the condition that the color would be the Chelsea gray for the building, the main body.
Yes.
And the brick would not be painted.
Correct.
Oh no, that'd be ridiculous.
Yeah.
No.
That's written into the COA, isn't it?
Yep, I just
Yeah.
I love to double check things now.
Okay.
We double check everything.
Now we double check everything.
So gentlemen, may I have a motion?
I'll make the motion to recommend approval of COA 2147 with the following conditions: that no brick is painted and that the body of the woodwork is in Coventry gray. Chelsea gray, excuse me, and not kindled charcoal.
Right. That's perfect.
Any other conditions, board? I don't know.
The door would be the aqua.
Yeah, the business door would be the aqua.
Josh, I would still like to say that there would be a third complementary color that fits within that palette to give a little more distinction and definition to the area. So if we have 5 colors, to go to 2 is too much to me. I would hope that we could agree on 3.
Well, we're on 4 right now.
We
Well,
have 4.
not counting the door.
Okay, so 3. The
What are the
body,
3 colors? What are the 3 colors?
the body of the building is to be Chelsea gray. The trim is to be Coventry gray as previously chosen. And the doors to the apartment and to Gartland's will be the Kendall charcoal.
Well, I'm saying we have currently 5 colors on the front plus the door, so that's 6 colors. I have no.
There's only 3 on the front.
Well, I'd be happy to meet you there and count the colors. There are.
Well, let me look at this picture. I kind of own the thing, and I'm there all the time. Let me see.
I painted it.
Well, if we can go back to that drawing, you start in the very middle. You have the teal color as 1. 2 is you have the dark trim around it.
And that's what I was telling you. If I paint mine like that, it looks weird next to
ma'am, excuse me, but we're counting colors. So let's just.
We're counting. There's 5. I see it.
I've said I've counted them. So the teal is 1. The trim around the teal is 2. Then you have a darker khaki color is 3. Then you have that other trim around it is 4. So certainly the door is 5, but it looks like the window trim at the very bottom is different than the balance. So that looks like the 5th color to me.
I guess I'm looking at Gartland's and they only have 3.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking about your building.
That is my building.
The
I mean, the whole thing is my building, not
All right.
just
I'm not going to approve it. So, because you want to argue, I'm not going to approve it.
So, Rick, you're saying,
So I just let it sit and deteriorate because you're mad that I don't want to do extra colors and pay that extra. So it's going to just sit there like an eyesore.
Well,
Is that what we're going to do here?
I think you just said it, that you don't want to pay for the cost of doing multiple colors.
Because I'm a small business owner. I've been through a pandemic and I am struggling to survive. And I'm trying to keep my building from falling apart. Do you understand that I have a limited amount of money? And if I keep putting color after color, I can't afford to do any of it. And I'm sorry to get so upset, but the building looks horrible. I have so much money. And we just went through, like I said, a global pandemic. I'm lucky that it's not a vacant store. Okay? If you can understand that, sir, have a little empathy instead of worrying about how many shades of colors on a building that I'm trying to take care of something. I'm trying to make downtown look pretty instead of like it's falling apart. I walked around downtown. Okay? There's not buildings that have 5 colors on it. Just because mine does not mean that's the norm. And I should not be punished because the people before me did that. And I'm sorry that I'm upset, but I'm trying my best.
So, at this time, we can have a motion. We can table it to next month when we will have more.
You know what? Just forget it. Just forget it. I'll let it sit there. I'll let it fall apart. I'll let it deteriorate. Because this is not right.
Miss, next month there'll be 2 more people here.
You know what? My time is very valuable.
As is ours.
The painter was ready to get started. I started on this in February. The painter I had booked for it was ready to get started.
You've not been here.
I've lost them. I've lost them now.
That's your. We are willing, if this cannot be made a motion tonight, there will be 5 people here next month and would be able to discuss it. there would be more opinions. So she's turned off.
I haven't turned off anything. I can
Oh,
hear.
good.
I'm just.
It was
I
just
just can't under.
it
You
was
know,
just
common sense tells me that you would rather see a building looking nice and freshly painted than a building sitting looking like it does now.
I think that's a positive statement. Yes.
Okay. That would make so much more sense. Okay. And like I said, as a small business owner, I have a finite amount of money. Every color I put on, every little detail I put on, everything is going to cost money. Okay.
Sure.
Unless you all give grants for this, I can simply not afford it. So we're at the point where,
Josh,
doesn't it make more sense to not
I would
argue
like to do
over
this. I would like for Josh, if you are willing, to make a motion based on what we've discussed and see where it goes.
because I would love to get this done next week. I want Bardstown looking pretty for summer. I don't know.
Do we have a motion, Josh, or how are we feeling about this?
And I'm sorry I'm argumentative, but I'm very passionate about it. I want things to look pretty. If you all would see what I've done with the inside of my store in the last month, you would see my passion for things looking nice. And having my hand tied that I can't do that is very frustrating to me. And I'm sorry if that is upsetting to you all.
Well, I don't think any more negative comments would be anything that we really need to hear tonight. I just think we need to try to make this motion and move forward and see if we have a second. And if we don't, then we have to go until next month or okay? So I think that that's what we need to do. Josh, do we have a motion?
Yeah, I mean, my motion would have been what I was saying before. You want me to repeat it?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'll make the motion to recommend approval of COA 2147 with the following conditions: that there is no brick painted in the building or on the building, excuse me, and that the body of the trim is Chelsea gray and not Kindle charcoal. But everything else would be as proposed and written. Motion is based on the following findings: the paint colors are consistent with paint standards set forth in Section 4 of the Bardstown Historic Design Review Manual.
Do we have a second?
Pat, do you support that?
I do support that, Rick.
Okay. Rashay, do you support that?
She's not allowed to say.
I'm not allowed to say.
Okay. I think we're making a mistake, but I'll second it. This storefront is unique and different. And to me, it's a mistake to go from 5 colors down to 2. But I will second Josh's motion as stated.
So the motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So with that, the paint colors are approved as stated. You'll need to wait till the city council meets and blesses that, and then you're free to begin the process.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, so we are now on 21-122, the Mathis. Let me close this out and find you guys. Okay, this is the request to paint the trim, window frames, and columns of your home. And if we go, whoops, mine disappeared, just a minute. It's probably about page 8 or something like that to see the paint colors. Is anybody else there yet?
That's page 7.
7, thank you. Got it. Okay, Cornwall slate, which is a light gray. And previously we talked about how the interior part of the windows are going to be black. So I can see how this will complement that. Do either of you gentlemen have comments? I have one concern, but I'll let you guys go first.
I'd like to hear your concern.
Well, I'm okay with most of the areas that we're talking about, but the posts, I believe, need to be white. And I read through this, and am I reading that you're requesting those be black, the charcoal also?
No, ma'am. So I guess the easiest way to put it is that anything that is presently white, all the trim on the house right now, we're proposing to paint the Cornwall slate color. And really the roof color that we presented last month's meeting, that was an easy decision, but the trim, the house ended up speaking for itself. As we began pressure washing and preparing the house for the roof color, our builder discovered that the trim, the color underneath the existing white trim right now is a grayish color, a grayish kind of green hue to it. So that was our inspiration with selecting this Cornwall slate color. But to the point of the windows, last meeting we were granted permission to remove the storm windows covering existing historic windows.
Yes.
To expose the original windows underneath, and those are painted dark. So like you said, this color we hope will help those original windows pop, keep the existing dark color underneath, and paint just the trim, the outline of the windows in this color.
Okay, then if I'm looking at the first page at the front porch, what parts of that will become charcoal versus white?
Charcoal, just the roof. But the proposed color, Cornwall slate, trim color, anything that is white on the photo that you're looking at, we're proposing and requesting be painted in this Cornwall slate color. But the dark charcoal gray, only the roof, which we discussed last month.
I'm still, in my mind's eye, I cannot imagine the pillar portion, not the box. I can see the box being the slate color, but the pillar portion being white or cream, whichever you felt blended best with your slate.
I think the best existing example around town right now is 209 East Flagey. Very similar, their posts and trim are maybe slightly, I'm sorry, my dogs are barking. They've been so good this whole time. Maybe slightly darker than the color that we're proposing, but that's probably the best example of an existing here in the historic district.
Do you know whose home that is?
I do not know.
That's my block, and I can't picture it.
Another example I think that we looked at for some inspiration was the Smotherman Edward Jones building on the corner there on Main Street. That's kind of the look that we're going for. We think that this trim color and including the columns will complement the reddish orange color of our brick. And like we mentioned before, ridding the red roof and going with that classic looking dark charcoal gray.
Gentlemen, what are your thoughts?
I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with
your what's your house number, Josh?
208 East Flagey. So
So we're talking about Alice.
Yes, it's your side. Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This one. Can we see?
And
Yeah.
yeah, that's Alice. Mhm. Yeah, and I didn't realize hers. Is it the same as her window trim? Is that what?
Yes. So the pillars, the trim, their trim's a lot more ornate than ours, but the window outlines and posts and trim are all in that color, kind of greenish gray color.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So Rick, you said you were comfortable, Josh.
I'm comfortable with it too.
So may I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to recommend approval of COA 21-122. My motion is based on the following findings. The paint is consistent with the paint standards set forth in Section 4 of the Bardstown Historic Design Review Manual.
I second it.
It's been motioned and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So again, Nikki, you'll have to wait till the city council discusses this also, and then you would be free to move forward.
Ma'am, thank you all very much. We appreciate it. We'll be back next month.
Yeah. Details. Okay. So now we have in front of us COA 21-80. Is anyone here for that? We hadn't heard from the country club.
There was
yeah.
no additional renderings that were sent in for that one.
Okay.
So I would recommend we table that one until we get more professional drawings.
Okay. So may I have a motion to table?
I'll make a motion to table COA 21-80.
I second it.
It's been motioned and seconded to table 21-80. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so that one is tabled. And then we've already dealt with 104, 19, and 20. So now we are down to Caitlin and Joe Ballard. Very good. Have we got you here, guys? We may have put them to
Here.
Oh, excellent. There she is.
Which number are we talking about?
The first one is 111. And there are 6 of them, I believe.
Yeah, the first one is to remove the trees.
Yes. And if you fellas had gone by the home, you know there are a zillion trees there, and the reasons are given why these do need to come down. Let's see what page I've got here.
Yeah, there is an email from Rob Smith.
Yeah, page 7.
What are you proposing that they be replaced with?
Well, I would like to, kind of clean up the yard before picking out some trees just to see where the shade hits. But I think a couple of, I've been told, some tulip poplars because they get kind of pretty large to replace the large trees. Redbud, eastern redbud, and white dogwood.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you may, in the overall picture, I'm hoping maybe we can word this that you would be able to work with Riche on the eventual selection. And sometimes you put proposed in a landscape plan, but then comes actual. Tulip poplars can get to be gigantic, and it's one of my favorite trees, but I don't think you'd want more than one in your yard. So it just, you might want to study those replacement trees more.
What's the largest tree that's the largest caliper diameter that's being taken down?
Probably the red maple that's right next to the garage. It's on page.
How large? Do you have a picture of that tree?
Yes, it's on page 8.
And that's the largest.
I believe so, diameter wise.
Mhm.
The
Yeah,
sugar maple
It's
is
not, it's not
is-
very big. Yeah.
on 9, that sugar maple. That's, I guess, got the red band on it that I can see. That's coming down.
Yes, that's coming down, but that's not very wide. I mean, diameter wise, that the red maple is larger than that sugar maple.
Have you discussed caliper trees with arborist or landscaper sizes?
No, but I will if you know prior to planting. I can talk to Rashay about that.
What I've been doing some research based on some previous conversations, and I've been chatting with some experts, and these are just kind of general notes here. One is when larger trees are taken down, sometimes there's a trade. If it's a really large tree, then it's common to ask for 4 trees for every large tree taken down. But it's not just take down one large tree and replace it with one small tree. 2 is caliper of trees is important. If you're doing a lot of trees relatively close in some sort of pattern, maybe 2.5 inches caliber. But if you're taking down a more significant tree, you should probably come back with a 3 or 3.5. There are some issues about the smaller ones have a tendency to grow faster than the larger ones. And then the other point that keeps getting repeated, and hopefully this isn't a political position, but with global warming, arborists are clearly seeing that some trees are doing much better than other trees. And they've just said, be very careful. You have to think about what this tree's planting will look like in 20 years, 30 years. And they're seeing trees that have been planted that are maxing out because of the warming. They're maxing out between 20 and 30 years when historically those trees might have lived for 75 to 100 years. So the selection of the trees are important. I understand the need to take down the trees. I just wish we had a replacement program that we knew exactly what they were being replaced with. Rashay, is there a solution to dealing with this?
You can grant staff approval. There isn't necessarily a replacement program in place right now, but you can grant the condition that each one would have to be replaced with a certain type of tree or a certain caliber of a tree and so forth.
I can't specify the type of tree because I don't have knowledge and experience in that area. What I can say is that if 7 trees are taken down, there should be more than 7 replanted. And of whatever number there is, there should be several at 3.5 caliber, not in nothing less than 2.5. So if the applicant and the rest of the group feel comfortable with something of that level with final staff approval, I'd say okay.
Well, and a concept, I don't know if it's appropriate to put into this, Caitlin, if you have an interest, but with the UK Extension Office agent input, he helps us when the trees are no longer in good shape. And then the UK itself has some tree experts, if you will. I know of people out in the county that use their help to select different types of trees.
We walked the property with Rob Smith before, did his report on that. So, I mean, he did give me a list of arborists that he has worked with. But we plan on doing lots of landscaping and trees around the perimeter, as kind of part of screening in the rear and the sides. But I can certainly come back with a landscaping plan. We don't plan on making much changes in the front of the yard, but
So let me ask Rashay and Pat, if we approve of the removal of the trees, any replanting would be subject to approval of the board. Is that correct?
Unless we make it staff approved, so they don't have to wait. They don't get in a time crunch. But that is way down the road, yes.
But we could, Pat, say,
Yeah.
okay, we approve of the demolition and any replanting will be subject to HRB.
Yes. That could be done, yes. Rashay, I believe.
That is correct. Yeah, that can be done.
Do we know any good judges that could do a court order for that?
And shoot you.
Well, I think Caitlin is going to come back with a nice plan.
Yes.
They want to do something nice here. So
Yeah, there's no doubt.
I make a motion to recommend approval of COA 21-111, subject to a future landscape plan approval by HRB. My motion is based on the following findings. The tree removals are consistent with the landscaping standards set forth in Section 4 of the Bardstown Historic Design Review Manual. And Caitlin, I know, Josh, go ahead and second that if you want to.
Second.
If our motion has been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So Caitlin, my recommendation is when you come back with the landscape plan, please include several trees around 3.5-inch caliber. And I think somewhere in the number of 10 trees total, and I'm not specifying what caliber all the trees should be. And just make sure you're checking with an arborist of species that are going to be around for a long time.
Okay. So that will conclude. And again, on each of these that we go through, Caitlin, you know that you wait until City Council approves.
Yes.
Let us close 111 and look at COA 21-112. And this is the request to replace the rear where there are vinyl windows and a door, all with Marvin double hung simulated divided windows. And that does include, as it says, the one where there's a door. At one point in your picture showed this, it would become a window instead.
Yes.
Do I have any discussion on this? I assume that you said Marvin double hung windows, and those are they all wood or wood aluminum clad?
I believe they're all wood.
Okay.
This is not replacing any historic windows, correct, Caitlin?
Right. They're just, the photos that are included are of all of the windows that, well, I guess I didn't zoom in on a couple of these, but it's just the vinyl windows that they put in at some point. You can tell from a mile away that they're white vinyl windows.
Yeah. And they're 6/6. Yeah. So
I would still request that there be a condition, because you won't understand why, that none of the original windows will be touched.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right. May I entertain a motion for that, gentlemen?
I'll do it. I make a motion to recommend approval of COA 21-111 with the
112.
112.
Thank you.
Okay, well, notice the application has a typo then. Correct? On page 4.
Yes, on page 4 it does. It's 112.
Yeah, but where it says the motion to approve,
Yes.
it says on this application 111, so it's clearly note that we're approving a COA 21-112 with
Correct.
the following condition that the original windows are not touched. This is only specific to the windows that are subject to this application. My motion is based on the following findings. The window replacements are consistent with the window standards set forth in section 4 of the Bardstown Historic Design Review Manual.
Second.
The motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So
On each one of these COAs, though, my name is misspelled. It's just missing an I.
We'll fix that. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries. But just in case this is
okay. So CAIT.
Yep.
Okay. You don't like Catlin.
I know a Catlin, actually.
Okay. So now we are looking at 113, if you will. And this is a request to add a mud hall and a breezeway to the rear side connecting the house to the garage. And then adding window siding and a roof to the addition.
We're waiting on more detailed plans for that one. So if we could make a motion to table that until next month, that would be amazing, please.
I make a motion to table COA 21-113.
Second.
With recommendation that sections, elevations, plans be submitted next month.
And with that, the motion's been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And let us then look at 21-114, which is the paint colors for the home. And the request to paint exterior trim and shutters. And that paint color. Okay, so page 8, we have, and Caitlin, I was unclear. Are you saying any of these trim colors or any of these house base colors?
Yes, I was just kind of giving a range. I mean, our current house, we did it staff approval, and this is what I did with that application. So,
okay.
But
I thought I got to pick out your house colors.
Well, in that, everything looks different once you put it on, but
it does. Given
the house colors on that street, I mean, everything is either that rusty red brick or white. So I don't want to do something that is going to be, really stark and stand out in that, but it's kind of hard to find something in the middle of a red and a white. So I just kind of wanted to do something soft for the main house color.
Pink is between red and white. I'm not.
I mean, I would love a pink house.
He's got jokes tonight. He's got jokes.
I'm not suggesting that.
So I like that idea that using this palette, that the exact colors could be staff approved with the homeowners and Richey. Could I have a motion to that effect?
Sure. I'll make the motion to recommend approval of COA 21-114 with the following conditions. The final paint colors chosen will be staff approved, but based on the color palette presented in the COA. The motion is based on the following findings. The paint colors are consistent with the paint standards set forth in section 4 of the Bardstown Historic Design Review Manual.
I second it.
It's been motioned and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Very good on the paint. So 21-115, let's go to the garage. To move the garage doors to the side. And I think it's a great concept. I think however we worded it, it has to include that it is subject to approval of planning and zoning.
And Rashay mentioned that. So we spoke to Jan. She didn't see any problem with it, but we are working on a site plan.
Okay, great. My
driveway, which is the next one on this list.
Yeah,
Right.
the driveway requires the site plan.
Yeah, and that's my question. Is there enough space there for the driveway and the neighbors' property lines and all that kind of stuff? So, okay, so then it sounds like we can go ahead with a motion on 115 based upon the site plan and approval of planning and zoning.
I'll make the motion to recommend approval of COA 21-115 with the following conditions: that final approval must be given by planning and zoning along with the site plan. My motion is based on the following findings: the garage door relocation is consistent with the door standards set forth in Section 4 of the Bardstown Historic Design Review Manual.
I second it.
It's been motioned and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
So that has passed, and again, it's open to the city council. Waiting.
Sorry,
for that.
I cut a little bit. Was there any conditions with that one? No.
Just
No.
the site plan and the
Okay.
planning and zoning approval.
Okay. And then 116, we would have to have the same condition that it meets planning and zoning requirements.
Yeah, I'll go ahead with this if you don't mind, Rick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll make the motion to recommend approval of COA 21-116 with the following conditions: that the final approval was given by planning and zoning along with the site plan. The motion is based on the following findings: the driveway addition is consistent with the site standards set forth in Section 4 of the Bardstown Historic Design Review Manual.
I second it.
The motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
So quick question on that. Did you all get the layouts showing the driveway? Because I don't see that in mine. I didn't know if you all got that.
Aye.
It goes from the side going behind to enter where the garage doors will be moved to the side.
Yeah, it was just for Shay, the house layouts, but it showed where the driveway came in and then around the side.
I don't think, nope, that may not have gotten attached, Caitlin.
Okay.
But it was described in the application though.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure you all knew.
With your picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 21-117 is to an application to replace the fence, which is a chain link fence with a wooden, with the ears and the flat pickets, dog-eared fence, 6-foot dog-eared fence. Can I entertain a motion with this, or do we need a discussion?
Is it natural stained, or are we talking about that at all?
I think we would stain it. Well, actually, maybe not. Maybe just a natural.
Okay.
Can that be staff approved once we get going?
I don't have a problem with that, but if nobody else does.
No, it is staff approval, and the only caveat we've had before is that it can't be a very dark color.
Yeah.
So natural would be great.
Okay. I'll make the motion to recommend approval of COA 21-117 with the following conditions: that the fence either is left natural or a stain is staff approved. My motion is based on the following findings: the replacement fence is consistent with the fence standards set forth in Section 4 of the Bardstown Historic Design Review Manual.
Second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
So that motion is approved. Okay, 21-118 is for the porch lights and the garage. And the picture of that is on page 7 of 118. And Caitlin, my question is, on the porch, will it like hang from the center, or is that also a side mount?
It would just be a side mount, like similar to the light that is there.
Okay. Okay, up there on the right. Yeah.
There's a mailbox underneath it with the little light fixture above it.
Okay.
So it's just replacing what's already there with this new fixture, right? Correct.
Yep.
And then dressing up the garage a little bit. So that sounds good. Any more discussion, or may we have a motion?
I'll make the motion to recommend approval of COA 21-118. The motion is based on the following findings. The replacement lights are consistent with the light standards set forth in section 4 of the Bardstown Historic Design Review Manual.
I second it.
It's been motioned and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Move forward with that as approved. So Caitlin, you and Joe are going to be quite busy this coming month. Congrats on the new house.
More than just 1 month of work.
Yes. Oh, yes. More than 1 year of work, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much.
Okay. Thanks for
Thank you.
hanging in there with us tonight. Thank you. Okay. So that's all of our COAs for this month.
Did we have, what
We got
happened
one
to
more.
99?
Oh, yes. The 99, 2199.
I'm fine with that light fixture.
Yes, it looked very good. So Rick, how about making a motion?
I make the motion to recommend approval of COA 21-99. My motion is based on the following findings. The light fixture is consistent with the light standard set forth in section 4 of the Bardstown Historic Design Review Manual.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
The light fixture is approved. Waiting upon City Council. May we have a motion to adjourn the meeting if there's no further discussion?
One thing real quick before, we're going to miss you, Rick.
Yeah.
Well, I've enjoyed it. I've learned a lot. My huge regret is that I did not have the opportunity to sit with you guys face to face. As people come on, I just highly recommend that you guys have workshops, walking tours, discussions. I think a lot of the issues that start to be controversial would be eliminated if the Historic Review Board is just constantly walking the historic district and talking about the issues. Once you talk about the issues, I think everybody will be on the. So I've enjoyed it. So July will be my last meeting. I may be doing that from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, but I wouldn't miss it.
Yes. Goodness gracious.
All right. Well, thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Rick.
Okay. Hang in there.